Morning, guys. Happy Friday. And yeah, welcome to Morning Joe with me, Jim. And so, what I want to talk about today is a question I get quite a bit these days, which is a very valid question. With mortgage rates this high, should I pay points to buy the rate down? And yeah, it makes total sense. Should you buy points? Points are just prepaid interest. It's an industry term, right? 1 point equals 1% of the loan amount. So if you have a $300,000 loan amount, 1 point is $3,000 added to closing costs, but it's prepaid interest. That's all it is. And it buys the rate down permanently. So it saves interest, right? So I'm going to share my screen real quick here and just walk through that. A couple of things if I can. Oh, I can't share the other screen. That's okay. So the first thing I want to say is, well, let's walk through this first. So let's say your loan amount is 400,000 and the going rate today with no points is 5.75, which is about accurate actually for in most cases, many cases right now. But if you pay 1 point, it buys the rate down. Generally speaking, a good rule of thumb is 1 point, which is 1% of the loan amount, buys the rate down by a quarter point in rate. So from 5.75 to 5.5. It's not always true. Sometimes it's a little bit more. Sometimes it can be 3/8, right? 5.375 or something like that. But generally, a good rule of thumb is almost all the time it buys it down by a quarter. But let's say a point bought it down a little bit more right now. Well, that would make more sense, right? So with no points, well, let's just go to with points, right? Make it simple. Your break even is about 42 months out. That's about 3.5 years, roughly. So your break even is 3.5 years, but it's not enough to break even on the $4,000 in this case that you paid up front in order to save $4,000 3.5 years down the road. You really have to be in that same loan and that same home, obviously, for roughly twice that time, right? About 7 years. So if you're going to be in the home and the loan for about 7 years, points can make sense because you break even and then you recoup that same cost in actual savings, right? Now, if you didn't pay points and you just put that $4,000 down, right, in equity, you put 4,000 more down, you'd break even in about 56 months. It's interesting math. I don't want to really focus on that right now. My point is, I get asked that a lot. And again, it's a very valid question. My answer right now is generally no. Don't pay points. In fact, sometimes do the opposite. Sometimes take a slightly higher rate. I know it sounds weird. In order to get a lender credit to pay part of your closing costs. So if you go down in rate, you're buying points. If you go up in rate, you're getting lender credit. It's the opposite of points, right? It's a credit to pay your closing costs. So sometimes I recommend that, sometimes I don't. But the reason I wouldn't pay points right now is because we're heading into a recession. And every time we head into a recession, rates go down, right? They do every time. I have a chart to show you, but without the second screen, I can't show you. I'll do that Monday or Tuesday, rather, maybe. Every time we go into a recession, rates go up a little bit heading into a recession, and then they drop dramatically. And so if you're buying a home right now, that's awesome because you're locking in the price of the home. And I think that's really smart because home prices will keep going up. They always do in a recession, except for the last one. But home mortgage rates go down. So you buy a home now, you're at 5.75 or 6% or wherever rates are when you lock in, 5.5, whatever it is. And then rates go down. So you've locked in the price, you're in your home, you love it, you're enjoying it, and we refinance when rates drop. But I think we're going to have the opportunity to refinance if you're buying today well before the break-even point on paying the point, well before the break-even point. And again, points are not worth paying unless you break even and then double that in savings, right? So generally speaking, you want to be in the home and the loan for about 7 years if you pay a point in order to break even, in order to make it worthwhile because you break even and save. I don't even think you'll be in the home if you buy today for 3.5 years. The break-even point if before rates drop significantly, and it will make sense to refinance to a lower interest rate. Now, when rates do drop, then we can look at paying points. Then it may make sense if you're going to be in that home long term. So, but I wouldn't do it going into a home right at the moment. I hope that helps for your planning on purchasing. And if I can help you with a pre-approval today, that's what we do.